once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuffs and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today we are doing a video about a guitar effects pedal. I guess we could call this series Stuff and Things Pedal Power, something like that, maybe? I don't know. As you know, if you watch any of my other guitar videos, I'm not an amazing, accomplished guitarist. I'm just a hobbyist. I enjoy playing guitar, especially lately. I hadn't really played much in the last few years, but I've really gotten into it again. I'm trying to improve my guitar playing, and I've also been delving into all sorts of pedals and effects. Before this new kind of guitar awakening that I'd had recently, I'm trying to think here, 4 pedals. I had a little mini board. I had a Fulltone OCD. I had a MXR Dynacomp, a Boss DS1 distortion pedal, an MXR carbon copy analog delay, and then a Boss TU3 chromatic tuner. So I had 5 pedals. In the last several months, I have acquired 5 more pedals, and I think I'm going to do some videos where I show you some of those pedals that I've recently acquired. One of the most recently acquired pedals is this. It is the Fulltone DejáVibe, or Custom Shop Mini DejáVibe CS-MDV mkII. Now, I don't know a ton about vibe pedals. This is basically a recreation of a Uni-Vibe pedal, and I didn't know a ton about all the various iterations that this pedal has gone through, but I guess the DejáVibe has been around for quite a while, and there was a much larger enclosure. I don't know how many different versions there have been. This is the Mark II of the Custom Shop version. It's pretty small considering the larger enclosures that this pedal used to have. I have some information about Uni-Vibe pedals in general, and then about the DejáVibe CS-MDV mkII in specific, or in particular, and I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about the pedal, what I was hoping to get out of it, and then show you some of the sounds that I've been able to find. The Uni-Vibe originally, thanks to our good friends at Wikipedia, was first released in the 60s. It was by a company called Shine-A, so S-H-I-N-E-I, and originally it was supposed to recreate the sound of a rotating speaker cabinet, like a Leslie rotating speaker cabinet. So it's a phase shifter sort of effect, and it was supposed to replicate a Leslie speaker, but it didn't really come all that close. But the actual effect they came up with was so interesting and so cool that it ended up showing up in a lot of late 60s albums and a lot of music that I'm not really particularly into. Jimi Hendrix famously used a Uni-Vibe a lot on his albums. A lot of people point to the song Machine Gun as one of the most iconic versions of a Uni-Vibe being used on a track. There was a period where Pink Floyd was using Uni-Vibes a lot, David Gilmour. I think in Breathe, that's a Uni-Vibe, but I know that sometimes he used a Leslie speaker as well. And it shows up here and there. It doesn't seem like a super popular effect pedal now in popular music. I'm not sure. A lot of things that you could say, oh, maybe that's a Uni-Vibe, it could be a phaser. But for me, I'm not super familiar with a lot of these modulation style effects. I have a tremolo pedal. I've had tremolo on my amp for a long time. I'm familiar with that, but that's volume going up and down basically, and you can have different sine wave patterns for that. This is a whole different beast, and it's something that I'm just kind of getting into and sort of learning about. According to the Wikipedia article, it says the Uni-Vibe phase shifter was known for its throbbing hypnotic pulse and lo-fi sweep. And then if you look at the actual Fulltone page, got so many things down here. I guess that the owner of Fulltone is super, super particular about his pedals. It talks about 100% correct vintage Uni-Vibe analog circuit with no op amps in the audio path, still using 13 discrete transistors. Still, the Fulltone proprietary glass lens hermetically sealed photocells with correct incandescent bulb. So there's actually a bulb which provides the pulse. I don't know exactly how the circuit works, obviously, but apparently this is very authentic, but then it also has some cool changes that make it a little more usable in the modern era. So on this pedal, we have a volume control, obviously, to control the volume of the effect. There's a modern and a vintage switch. Apparently the vintage switch is supposed to be more just like the original Uni-Vibe, and then the modern just sounds a bit fuller. There is a vibrato and chorus switch here, which apparently the original Uni-Vibes had as well. I think most of the things that we think of as quintessentially Uni-Vibe sounding use the chorus mode. The vibrato just sounds more like what you would think, like a vibrato. We also have an intensity knob here. There is a speed knob here, and this particular Uni-Vibe clone, I don't know if you could call it a clone, but the DejáVibe has a very large range for speeds. It says here, now has much slower and much faster available speeds, achieved by replacing the standard speed pot with a Fulltone designed and custom-made photoresistor while retaining the original Uni-Vibe's unique analog oscillator circuit and 100% analog warble feel. There's also here you can have an external pedal, so you could have an expression pedal attachment here. This will only run on 18 volts, so it has to have an 18 volt power supply. I'm using my MXR Dunlop ISO brick for that because it has some 18 volt out on there. And then I guess that's just because it needs that headroom, it needs that voltage. This is apparently a great pedal. I don't have any other Uni-Vibes to compare it to. I haven't been able to ever play an original Uni-Vibe. I haven't played any other modern Uni-Vibe clones, but I am really loving the sounds I can get out of this, and I'm not really going for that Hendrix thing. Another artist people mention a lot is Robin Trower, and again, I listened to some of his stuff once I got this pedal to kind of hear what people were saying, and it's cool. It's not exactly my thing. I just like interesting sounds, and you can get a lot of interesting sounds out of this. So let's plug this in. I'm gonna be playing around with it a little bit. I've got my trusty Fender Pro Tele here, and let's just see some of the sounds that we can get out of this. And we'll go over some of the settings and just show you what this thing is capable of in my hands. Okay, we've got the guitar plugged in. We have the Fender Telecaster right now. It's on the bridge pickup position. The tone is just rolled off slightly. And we're going into an AC 15. Pretty clean right now. I think I'll throw a little bit of reverb on. We're just gonna go with some Hall. And let's put it right around there and right around there. So, little reverb, clean tone. Now with the DejáVibe, we're gonna put it in vintage, chorus, put the intensity around there, volume around there, speed around there, and just give you an idea of what this sounds like. You can actually see the bulb pulsing, so that'll show you your speed. So you can hear that kind of phaser sort of sound, but it's a little darker, a little warmer, and it just has this more interesting modulation to me. Now if you fool around with the speed a little bit, maybe up the intensity slightly, volume's pretty good. You can of course get the Pink Floyd. Now I think in that song in particular, it was actually a Leslie rotating speaker, but you can see how the Uni-Vibe, I keep saying Uni-Vibe, but in this case, the DejáVibe is sort of replicating that sound. Ooh, sounds good. So how do I want to use this? Well, for me, it just adds a really interesting texture, especially if you're doing rhythm, even with open chords, like. You could lower the intensity a little bit and make it slightly less apparent. Even for power chords, it adds an interesting texture. So to me, this kind of setting here, when we have it in vintage mode with the chorus, intensity not super high, the speed not super fast, is kind of, I don't know, the general use case for this pedal. Then, if you go into modern mode, let's just give you a G chord. In vintage, can you hear the difference? It just feels a little bigger, I would say, in modern mode. And the speed can go way up. Let's get the intensity up a little bit. You hear that? How much darker it starts making the guitar sound. So you can offset that a little bit. I could just put my tone on my guitar back. So it definitely darkens up the sound a little bit. If you go into vibrato mode, that's not really what I would think of as the Uni-Vibe sound, but it's an interesting effect even by itself. I just love that pulsing modulation at the end of it. You can probably get a lot of the same stuff with a phase pedal, but I don't know, a phaser, but this it just has this certain something to it that I really love. If I go back to vintage and chorus, turn the speed all the way down. Then you throw on a little bit of fuzz. Take a listen to this. It's so cool. This kind of leads us a little bit into pedal placement. I have found with experimenting a lot with this pedal that having it before my distortions and overdrives, I have my Boss pedal here, and then after that I have my OCD. instead of having it kind of at the end of the signal chain, like a lot of people would do with a modulation effect, it sounds really good going into the overdrive and distortion. Obviously that's up to you, but then I put my fuzz first, and I don't know, to me it just works. Ugh. Now obviously this is pretty extreme kind of effect you have going on here, especially if we turn up the intensity all the way. You get that crazy sort of percussive quality to it. It just sounds so cool. And to me, the most fun thing about getting a new pedal is finding a cool sound that you could use. It could help you if you're a songwriter, if you're someone who's looking for, I don't know, a certain texture, a certain je ne sais quoi that you can put into a song. You could build a whole song around that. I'm just muting the strings and you're getting this really cool percussive quality, that throbbing, it's at the lowest setting for the Uni-Vibe or the DejáVibe, the lowest speed setting anyway. Doesn't work for everything, obviously, but like you wouldn't be playing like a full, I don't know, bar chord sort of progression with that. Maybe you would. A lot gets lost though, obviously, in the translation there, but I don't know. There's so much you can do to play with this thing. It sounds so cool to me. And of course, I don't know, what's another Pink Floyd song? I don't really know very many Pink Floyd songs. What is that? Is that Breathe? Something sort of like that. That sounds vaguely familiar, and it sounds sort of like the effect used in that song. Again, I don't know a lot of Pink Floyd. I know some people hold that against me, but that's fine. I just think it sounds awesome. If you want to throw a little bit of drive into it, I don't have that on camera right now, but my OCD with the drive just barely on, it's just kind of a little bit of a boost. Maybe turn the speed up a tad. I don't know, I just think it sounds great. You could obviously make it much more subtle if you wanted to. Having the intensity at about 9 o'clock. Get more of a clean tone. So you still get that pulsing in the background, but it's not overpowering. I don't know. I just think this sounds amazing. I'm really looking forward to figuring out exactly how this fits in. There are obviously certain songs that I could learn, oh, well, this song has Uni-Vibe featured on it. I could learn that song, learn how to tweak this particular DejáVibe to sound like the sound in a particular song. But again, a lot of them are Hendrix songs, Trower songs. I probably couldn't play Hendrix even if I wanted to, but just in terms of my own little soundscape that I'm trying to produce by myself, I don't know. It's just awesome. I can't wait to play more. There are other pedals on this board that I would like to show you at some point. I'm really enjoying the Super Trim Junior, the Hall of Fame 2 Reverb I've been playing around with a lot, and the 69 Mark II Fuzz is awesome as well. So there's a lot I still would like to show you in the future, so stay tuned for more gear videos. I guess we're going to call this Pedal Power on Stuff and Things. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.